Welcome, everyone. Really excited to be connected to you again after such an intense few months. And then the globes all went out to the world and to the UK. And just want to thank you for all of your hard work on that. It's really shows in the reception that we have received. The people just love the globes. They feel so celebrated and seen, and people are curious and are learning and engaging with the topics. So mission accomplished. And again, thank you so much for everything you did to make this possible. So this session is really just to get some information about the auction out to you. This is what Melina and I are focused on. Almost all of our time is focused on this next piece, as we want to get the globes placed into public places. We also, of course, will accept private ownership of the globes, but we'd ideally like a nice mix so that the globes live on in public spaces. And so what our strategy and plan is to have an online auction, an in-person auction, and a pre-sale campaign. So the auctions will be handled by Bonhams. They are our auction partners who have generously agreed to perform the auctions pro bono. So that's wonderful news for us, because usually there are significant fees related to having an auction. So just to set out our goals for everyone to understand for this auction, one, as I said, is for the legacy of the world we imagine to live on. So that means having them in public spaces. We hope to place them in galleries and museums and schools and religious spaces, potentially places where people will still be able to engage with them. And so that's part of the legacy of the World We Imagine and its public art program. We also are very serious about championing our artists. So to us, that means also financial support and making sure that the artists who have dedicated so much of their time to this project are also given the opportunity to financially benefit from this. And so I'll go through how we have conceived of that allotment. And then lastly, to advance racial justice is one of our major goals. And that's the overarching goal of the entire project, from the artistic program to learning program to community to the heritage collection. So that's key to us. And the way we envision doing that is to support financially organizations who are focused on racial justice. And we have already done this previously in our grant making for over 75,000 pounds that have gone to organizations across the UK who are currently supporting racial justice. So those are our three key goals for this project and for this next phase of the globes. So some information on the auction specifically. There's the online auction, which will have the majority of the globes. That will be about 85 globes. We will not have the community globes because those in part of the funding arrangement are already going to stay within the communities where they are featured. So they are not able to be sold. The other 85 are, and we will look to sell them all. And so through the work that we're going to do on the back end of working with the partners who already helped to sponsor those globes, seeing if we can place them with them and get more support from them, working with individuals, philanthropists, again with institutions to see if we can place into collections. So all of the online auction will be on Bonham's website. And then we expect those dates to be from November 11th to the 18th. And so the auction will be happening for a week. And that's a Friday to a Friday. So that will be a time that we will be looking to get your support to help us to sell the globes and to increase the proceeds. And I'll talk a bit about that and how we can work together to bring that. As I'm talking, please feel free to put any comments, questions into the Q&A. And at the end, I will answer all of your questions. And if I don't have an answer, then we'll take down notes and we'll email you directly. So the starting bids for the online auction will be £1,000. And then the increments we're getting we're going to lean a lot on Bonham's for some of the technical aspects of the auction. And this is one of the things that we'll find out from Bonham's, what they suggest the increments will be of the auction. So when we have that, when we have all of the information, we will send it over to you in a neat document. But we wanted to at least bring you along and make sure that you knew the framework that we're currently working with. And for the in-person auction, Bonham's is going to essentially choose 10 globes that they would like to feature in person. Those 10 globes will come to the Bonham's auction house in London, and then there will be an event on November 15th. That's the planned date. So it's in the middle of the online auction. And that event will have 150 or so guests who we will have worked towards making sure that people in the room are ready to bid, know about the globes. And again, once we have the final decision from Bonham's which globes, we'll make sure that everybody knows whether your globe will be in the online auction or in the in-person auction. So we, with the in-person auction, the starting bids will again be worked through Bonham's and through essentially a matrix, and we'll have a matrix of their own, an algorithm of their own of how they work through starting bids. And the 10 in-person auction artists will be notified of how it will go. And then again, the increments will be decided by Bonham's based on their prior knowledge. Then we have the pre-sale, which we believe is really important because the auction is very unpredictable. We could, particularly I think right now, given our the unpredictability of the economy, we are trying to secure as many funders in advance of the auction, because that is cash in hand rather than waiting to see what happens with the auction. We feel very confident in your work. What we don't feel confident in is the economy and the fluctuations right now. So for the pre-sale, we'll be pricing the globes at a minimum of £5,000, and it will go upwards of 5,000. So just to give you a bit of background on the promotion of it, and then I'll go through the breakdown and the payment process, and some details about if the globe isn't sold. We'll also talk about that in a moment. But regarding the promotion, Melinda and I will be working behind the scenes along with the partnerships managers within the organization, who will all be trying to, show as many people as possible how wonderful the Globes are. And we'll be having Zooms, daily Zooms, hourly Zooms to present the Globes and to match your Globes with people who and institutions who we believe will be a good fit. So what you can do is to help us by, if you know people who you are interested, you already have an interested patrons or relationships with institutions, then please send them our way, and we can pick up and do the heavy lift on our side to make sure that they have all the information, make sure they know the background of the Globes. I think once people learn about the details and the symbolism that you have used in your Globes, the reason for the colors, the history, your relationship to the Globe, just giving the full story really creates an emotional attachment. So we're very happy to give part of that story, but it's also great if you can do that. And so social media is obviously a very easy way to get your message out to a lot of people. If you have social media accounts, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, then that's great for you to send out information. When we have it, we'll have some assets to give over to you that you can just post right on your own Instagram or your own Facebook pages. But also, I would say, already some of our artists have had really creative videos or collages or different ways of promoting their own work. So I encourage you to do that. And if you need some guidance, then Melinda and I are happy to help with that. And also we have the support of our comms team who can show you how to make these videos, or to give you some ideas on what's been effective, what has had high traction. And when you're doing those, of course, remember to do the hashtags, the world reimagined, the racial justice as a hashtag. Once we have the Bonhams information, hashtagging Bonhams and auction, and so will have lots of assets just to help you, to help us. And then we'll also have a email account that you can send people directly to that email account, and that will be auction@theworldreimagined.org. So we'll send that to you also. And even if they are interested instead in pre-sale, that's fine. They can just come to that website, or they can email us directly, Melinda or myself directly. So one of the things that we're also doing is getting creative about the way that we engage bidders. So someone can bid to just support the organization to then place the Globe. So Melinda and I will be looking for institutions. We'll find some that are ready to be guardians of the Globe. And then we'll also, on the same side, be working to find philanthropists and people who just want to support the project. And we will consider that the same way of any pre-sale. And so whether your Globe is sold at pre-sale, at auction, online auction, in-person auction, the breakdown is going to be the same. And so I'll just get into the breakdown now. This was also in the email we sent out in June, but essentially it will go to three different pots. So the World Reimagined has, of course, our learning program, our community program, and our heritage collection. And so our programmatic work, we want to make sure we're able to help it stay available for people for the next year, 2 years. We're going to work through that. But what we know is that we will need to cover our costs for the next 2 quarters to then make sure that we have a robust system in place for the work to live onwards. We are not a forever organization. We didn't build ourselves to be a forever organization. And so in this auction, we're really just taking what we need. It's not, this is not for us to then live on for many years. So what we have is £150,000 is what we need in order to manage the next 2 quarters. So really Q4 and then Q1 of next year. And then £20,000 for the auction. So we have costs on our side associated with the auction. So the total that goes into the World Reimagined is 170. So then on top of that 170, we would have the percentage that goes to the artists whose globe is sold. And so that brings us up to 189. And Dennis, if you could share the slide that helps to give a visual for this, that would be wonderful. So yes, so here we go. So this just shows kind of a bare minimum that helps us and also compensates the artist whose globe is sold further. But again, as I said, our goal is to go much further than that. And so what we want is to also have a shared artist fund. Anything beyond this 189, and just to make it really clear, because we're talking percentages and then fixed amounts, think 189 minus 19K is where we get the 170 that goes to the World Reimagined. The 19K is 10%, which goes to the collectively to the artists whose globes are sold. And when I say collectively, I really mean that one globe might be sold for £10,000, 1,000 of that goes to the artist whose globe it was. So collectively, as you add it up, and you will get to 189. That's the 19,000 plus the 170. Moving beyond that, what we created was a 50-50 split essentially for the artists in what we call the Shared Artist Fund and the organizations that are working towards racial justice. So ultimately, when you put it together, artists will have a take home of 50%. And when you add the 10 plus the 40, and then the grant making for racial justice will have 50%. So just to make that more clear about the artists, the shared fund for the artists, this shared fund goes to every artist. So there may be some artists who are not able to sell their globes for one reason or another. But we felt that it was really important that all artists were compensated, and because regardless of whether your globe was sold, you were part of this collective of artists who made such an impact on British culture and society. And so, and we want that to be more of a cooperative rather than individuals. And so So that's really how the Shared Artist Fund came about. And I want to give Milena a shout out here because she was really key in helping us conceive, as well as quite a few artists who helped us conceive of how to make this split equitable. This is a really unusual split. I don't think you'll see many charity auctions that give this much back to the artists. So we're really proud of that, and we stand for equity, and so we believe in order to stand for it, you have to demonstrate it. And our hope is that this impacts other charity auctions in the future that are able to support artists better. So as we move higher and higher into the amounts that we are able to raise through the auctions and the pre-sale, then thank you, Dennis. Here are just some amounts that would be shared. So remember, there are 103 globes, and so the amount that is delegated is per globe. Some globes have a few artists, and they would receive that as a group. So if we're able to raise 250,000, then there is 233 pounds that goes to all 103 globes and the artists related to those globes. So naturally, because we have a fixed cost in the beginning, the amount that each artist receives starts out quite low, and then it exponentially rises. So you can see if we raise 500,000, then that's 1,204 pounds that goes to each globe. If we're able to raise 1 million, which would be fantastic, then we're looking at 3,145. So this for us feels really exciting and equitable. And for the funds that go to the racial justice grant making, I just want to let everybody know that, so at this point, we don't know who those organizations will be. And that's because we don't know how much we're going to raise. If we knew we had 500,000 pounds, then it would be much easier to design what we're going to do. But the difference between giving 50,000 pounds to racial justice organizations and 500,000 pounds is significant. And so the amount of impact that you can have and the types of programs that you're able to support is really drastically different. So, so we really want this to be bespoke. We want this to be as impactful as possible. And our board members, Ruth Ibegbuna, who you may have seen in one of our master classes, and then Lee Lawrence, who is the founder of the Cherry Groves Foundation. Both of them have a lifetime of work in racial justice. And so they will be leading the committee that will decide where the money is delegated. But we already have, we're a young organization, but we already have a track record of giving back to communities. That's what our entire community department is about, but also we have the financial grants that we have already given of 75,000 pounds. So again, if there's any feedback, then we're very happy to take that. And if you know of organizations, then by all means, let us know. It really will be a well-researched and well thought out process. So I think, yeah, you can take that down, Dennis, and that will be shared with everybody. So you may wonder about the unsold globes. If a globe is not sold, what happens? If they don't go pre-sale or any of the auctions, what happens to the globe? So that's when we would look to place them in institutions. Again, as I said, Milena and I are working on a list of institutions that will be able to be guardians. And so many of those institutions will not have the funds to purchase, but even just being a guardian requires significant funds because these are large, they have to be housed, they have to be maintained. So it's not as if they're getting something for free, so to speak. But that's how we would try to place them. We want to find homes for every single globe. And we really, as I said, in our £150,000, that is really to run the programs. It's really not to store globes. That's not what we put in the budget because we want to really focus on spreading as much information, keeping that programmatic work. That's really our focus. So our work that we're doing right now is really critical to make sure that we find homes for everyone. And I will also say that for payment, so I just want to explain the payment process a bit. Bonhams will collect all of the bidders. Bonhams will process all of the bidders' donations, all of their payments. So they will have a 30-day period for that. And then Bonhams will disperse that money to us, and we will have a 30-day period. So I just want to make sure artists are aware that it's not until January that their payments will be received. I don't want anybody planning on their Christmas bonus and Christmas fund because it won't be dispersed before the end of the year. So just keep that in mind, and also just keep in mind that this will all be transparent. You'll see on the website what the globes went for. The auction is in person. People will know what so there's nothing no information that you won't have access to. But as far as the actual payment, you can expect 60 days because of Bonhams plus the World Reimagine accounting processes. We have also, we're also working to do a communication strategy around the auction. So making sure that that we are able to get it out into as many publications as possible also. So it's not just us internally working on that. We will also have consultants who are helping us get the word out. All right, so let's see, are there any questions in chat? I'm just looking. Don't see any questions in the chat. If anybody has a question, please throw it into the chat. And let's see. So just so people know, some of the organizations that we have previously supported related to our racial justice bursaries include, let's see, the Birmingham Race Impact Group, Leeds Black Art Charity and Enterprise Festival, and the Racial Justice Network, just to name a few. If you go online, you'll see on our events page some of the events that we have supported, and those partner community organizations have been able to produce those events from the bursary that we have offered. So that gives you a flavor of the types of organizations that we are supporting. And thank you for putting that in the chat. You can click on that link and it'll take you directly to some of the events, which I hope you check out anyway, because they're really wonderful events and they're all over the UK. So they're all in our host cities. and I invite you to join us. Let's see if there's anything else in my notes. If there's anything else to share. Yes, so we will have a email address called auction@theworldreimagined.org, and that will be an address that you can send people to, anybody who's curious about the auction. We are hoping to get a catalog of some sort. Again, we're really trying to make sure that all of our costs are as lean as possible, but also you've got to invest some money in order to raise the money, and so we're working through how to make that that catalog available to as many people as easily as possible. Any other questions? If not, then we will conclude here. And we're always just an email away. So Milena, her email, my email, Dennis, and there's always the hello general email, hello@theworldreimagined.org. But if there are no questions, then I'm going to end it there and just thank you all again for all of your support and for your beautiful work. It has really been absolute pride and joy of the team to see your work in situ across the cities. Okay, I do have one question from Gail about the catalog being available as a souvenir. Yes, we want, I mean, many people have said that they want some type of souvenir just to remember this important project and for it to live on. So we really are considering that. Again, it comes down to time and funds to produce it. What we are going to have, which is really exciting, is an anthology of poetry that in our learning program, we had schools all over the UK engage in creating poetry around the curriculum based on what we offered about teaching about Mother Africa for the primary schools, and then secondary schools about our journey of discovery themes. And so that will have some of the artwork in it, images of the artwork in it, but it won't really serve as a catalog, but it's a beautiful production that also includes 27 really well-known poets who we've commissioned to create poetry, again, based on our conceptual framework of the journey of discovery. So, so that's one thing we will be producing, and we'll keep you updated on the catalog. All right, lovelies, I think that's it. And thank you so much for your time, and we're really excited for these next steps. I will see you. We might have another Zoom just to catch up if there are people who have questions, or if we feel like there's any major announcements, then we'll have another Zoom. But I just want to say good night and thank you again for your time.